Hello everyone, this is Sarah. Welcome back to Never Out of Books. Today I am going to try to encompass everything into one video, so I hope I am able to be succinct in all of this. A little bit of a life update and all of that. My finger is healing. I'm still out of work, but next week I go back. This is my last week of more intense reading until I'm back to my normal going to work schedule, as well as my daughter being back into homeschool. We took a couple weeks off. The Pokemon game is coming out on the 18th, so I do not intend to be reading a whole lot this weekend. And I have 15 paid Pilates lessons that expire at the end of December if I don't use them. So I am going to have abs of steel by the end of December. So reading might not be the best for the rest of the year, but so far I've read I think 11 books this month at this moment, and I've brought some books into my home that I would just want to briefly show you. I didn't intend to participate in Nonfiction November, but somehow it ended up happening anyway a bit, because I have read 3 nonfiction books so far. One of the first that I read was the Whole 30 book by Melissa Hartwig and Dallas Hartwig. No surprise to anyone who knows me, but I eat a whole food diet, although I have not so far been doing very well with it lately, hence the additional weight that I have put on that along with some other things. So I'm actually on day 3 of a Whole 30, and I'm hoping this will kind of get me into line, that and the Pilates. Good grief, by January I'm gonna be like set. So this was an excellent book. Half of it is cookbook, and I actually have already made 2 of the recipes in it, and both of them were delicious. So it is a very good book. I also read, my mother got it from the library and she gave it to me, Food Freedom Forever. It is the new book by Melissa Hartwig. I don't have it here, sorry. And this talks about taking responsibility as adults for what we eat. And it was a very good book. It had some really profound things in it that struck me as an adult. I also read Dance Diaries, Ballroom Budgeting, How I Afford to Dance by the girl with the treat tattoo. Kate, I think is her name. This was a short book about budgeting, basically. Some of it I knew already. I'm an adult. I know how to budget my money, but for anyone who knows anything about ballroom dance, they know that it is extremely expensive. It rivals horses, to be honest. I swear that some of the ladies in my studio spend 70 grand a year on dance and competitions. I'm not made of money. I don't have that. So I read this and I did think she had some really, really great tips and things like that at the end of how to stretch your dance dollars. I appreciated this book a lot. I believe I gave it 4 stars. For Read Kids Lit, so far I've only read 3 books. Space Case and Spaced Out, both by Stuart Gibbs. I thought I had read Space Case, but apparently I had not. I went on Goodreads, and then when I actually read it, I realized I had not read it. These are middle grade mysteries, and not to be spoilery, but they do have science fiction elements that I was not expecting in them. Space Case is a murder mystery, and Spaced Out is a missing persons. And both of these takes place in a small, tiny colony of scientists and some random kids who are their children who live on the moon. So there's not a whole lot of place or people who could actually be doing and committing these murders. So these were very interesting. I love them. I am all for a good fart or poop joke. It's great. They're well enough spaced in here that the adults can read them without wanting to hit their head against the wall, and they're well placed. So all good, I'm happy. I also read Cartwheeling in Thunderstorms by Katherine Rundell, and I really, really enjoyed this book. This is about a girl named Will who has really been raised in Africa pretty wild. She's allowed to do whatever she wants. She goes running, but she's very smart, and she knows Africa, and she knows animals, and she knows all the trees, and she knows where to go, and she suffers the her mother had died when she was little, and then her father dies, and she is sent off to boarding school in England by her evil guardian's wife, and her struggle to fit in. This was a pretty profound book for anyone who is just a little bit different. For my own personal enjoyment, I read The Bride Wore Size 12 by Meg Cabot, the last book in the Heather Wells mystery series, and I'm very, very, very sad for this to end, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but it was lovely. I just wish Cooper had a little bit more time in this book, but other than that, it was thoroughly enjoyable, laugh out loud funny, and I loved it. I also read The Undomestic Goddess by Sophie Kinsella, another enjoyable chick lit that made me laugh, and it was wonderful. I read this for one of my reading challenges on Goodreads, and I loved it, and I'm surprised I haven't read any of her things before because I love chick lit and I love to laugh. So, highly enjoyable. I also read a short novella by Allie Carter, Double Crossed, a Spies and Thieves story. So I finished the Gallagher Girls series, but this is in between the last two books. This little novella gets put in. It does not have the main character. It has one of her friends in it, and then it adds for the Heist Society, which I love, and she needs to write another book like now, but it takes Hale and kind of combines them together, and it's a quick little thing where you get to see the people, and it was lovely and wonderful, and I loved it because I love these people and I want more books. I forgot to mention one thing with Read Kids Lit. I did start The Glass Sentence. I don't want anyone to think that I didn't follow or actually want to read this. I will be picking this up another time, but it is not the right time for me to read this book. I am politicked out. I want to read no books that have any sort of politics at all in it. And this one started, and they want to build walls around the United States and things like that. And I said, you know what? This is not the right time for this book because I am wiped out. So, another time, because I feel like I will like this book, but just it's not the right time. Then I got a library book in, Glitter, that I read. If you read the synopsis, you can tell it's a very dark book. The protagonist, Danica, in this book is trying to escape this kingdom, which is essentially a small city that encompasses Versailles, and they dress like Louis the Couture's people with all those, like Marie Antoinette and all of the big hair, although this is actually set in the future. She wants to escape because she is being manipulated into marrying the king. The problem is, to get the money to escape, she starts selling drugs in their makeup and getting everyone hooked on this. And that includes some of her friends end up getting hooked on this. There is death in this book. And I just want you to beware. I do not really view this book as a young adult book, even though the writing is simplistic and the characters are 17 years old. At the beginning of the book, there is sexual asphyxiation, and the king likes to strangle people. And I personally would not allow my young adult child to read this book. It is very dark. Despite the cover, it's beautiful. It's a very, very dark book. I can't say I enjoyed it, but it was definitely an interesting take, and I'm kind of interested to see what happens, because everything collapses in the end of this book, and it's a big cliffhanger, because of course there's a second book, because we can't just have one book, can we? So beware for some of you who may be younger readers or who are parents of younger readers. This might not be the book for them, despite how lovely and sweet and innocent the cover looks. It's very dark. Quickly, today I hope to read Much Ado About Nothing for Shakes Along, And by the end of the month, I want to have finished The Woman in White. And I am currently reading Flight of Dreams. I want to finish that. And I really would like to read this one too. So that's my hopes for the rest of the month. Now, the books that I've brought into my home this month, I purchased A Million Worlds with You. This is the third book in Claudia Gray's trilogy. So I can now marathon these books. These books are worth it just for the covers. I mean, I hope that the insides are good too, but like the covers are absolutely beautiful. I also purchased The Book Thief, which I have not read because this is a beautiful cover and I intend to have my daughter hopefully read it for school. I also bought The Chemist by Stephenie Meyer. Yes, I did like Twilight at its time, but I actually really liked the synopsis and what the book is about, so I purchased it because I think my family would like it as well. For Book of the Month, I grabbed Swing Time by Zadie Smith because it has dancing in it. End of story. And I bought The Trespasser by Tana French, even though I have not read any of her books because everyone talks so much about it. So hopefully the hype is worth it because I now have owned 3 of her books, so they better be good, people. And that is about that. So I hope that everyone has a lovely rest of the month. I might be back with some videos, I might not, because things are really going to get fairly busy at this point. So I do hope that everyone has a lovely rest of the month, and I'll see you. Bye-bye.